Triggered Thoughts podcast, blood.
Yo, what's happening, people? Welcome to the Triggered Thoughts podcast. I'm your man, Verbz.
And myself, Geniusman.
And today we got a very special guest in the building who's here to help us, explore and dig in deep about the subject matter of abuse and grief. What's your name?
DivineLady23. Hey, everybody.
Welcome, Divine. How are you?
I'm blessed. How's everyone? Everyone's good?
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on. And yeah, we're looking forward to this.
Definitely.
Thank you guys for having me on your show, because I haven't had a podcast for a while, so thank you.
Yeah.
You look very relaxed and chilled in the background, which is a good thing, I must say.
Because I actually was going to get into podcasting myself, so I set up like a little space that's comfortable to do it.
That's good. Yeah,
man, you look like you got the body language and the aura for it, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Rest me over time.
All right then.
Yeah.
So yeah, people, let's get back to the subject, man. So grief and abuse. With me and Genius and Divine was having a little discussion, and we thought that we would bring this subject matter to the table, because as you can imagine, or as you know if you have the experience or know a few people in particular communities, especially in the urban areas, there is a lot of abuse that's been going on historically and has still been going on to this day. And it leads to a lot of people going through a lot of suffering, not being able to have the opportunity to be able to find the right sources or forums to be able to speak about it. And I think the episode today will be very good and very enlightening for the listeners. And of course, it's something in depth, but it's something different, but much needed, if we all can agree. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it is a topic that should be talked about more, because I feel like it is kind of swept under the carpet and is almost labelled as taboo even. And there's a lot of things that come with actually speaking out about it, from personal experiences.
Most definitely. So, let me just ask, I'm going to get to you in a minute, Divine, but let me just ask Genius. Genius, what do you think about, what's your experiences, or have you come across any situations where you've seen or heard of, or anything to do with some kind of abuse in the community?
In the community?
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, when I used to attend a church, obviously I experienced, as not just myself, but obviously others experienced spiritual abuse. So, with that, there was a lot of control, manipulation, and there was a lot of playing off each other against each other, and it wasn't a nice experience. And the thing is, unless you have experienced it yourself personally, you won't even know that it's abuse. And I feel that a lot of people go through things. They go through a lot of abuse, whether it's mental abuse, physical abuse. But when you're in it and you're in it for a long time, it takes for someone outside to say, you know what you're going through is abuse. And you will know it's something, but you wouldn't actually know it's actually that until someone, lets you know that this is, what you experience is abuse and it's not right.
That's quite deep still, that is. Is there any way that I can get you to give even one small example of what you're talking about within the church? Is there an example that you can give just to the listeners?
Yeah, for example, for, I'd say 8 years straight, I locked off all my family, friends, and the scriptures were used in the form of, it wasn't used in a manipulative way where, if they're not serving God, then, they're not really part of the fold. So this what I mean. If you're not someone that understands scriptures to a point of not manipulation, but just what I mean, you read it out of context, it can be a problem because you could perceive it as something else, and the person said, "No, actually, no, it means this." This what I mean. And obviously, being someone that was new to church, there was a lot of, I would say, fear mongering. There was a lot of twisting of scriptures. This what I mean. And based on the way that the scriptures were delivered, I kind of saw it as if my family or friends are not walking in line with the word of God, I can't talk to them unless they convert and come to the church. You know what I mean? So it was using the thing of, until God is ready, and they see a change in you, then, you can bring them to the fold. So it was kind of like, I invited them, but it was, you know what I mean? It wasn't done in a way that I would say was a Christ-like way for them to say, you know what, actually, it was kind of looked at as, you're in a cult and we need to get you out. You know what I mean? It was, I went through that for 8 years. I didn't enjoy a weekend. Everything, I didn't enjoy the weekend in 8 years. Me, my family, the missus, the kids. It was just literally as of, yeah. There was some good. There was some, there was some good times. But in terms of what I experienced, it was just kind of like living in a whole complete different world. Everything was just church, you know what I mean? And even when it came to Saturdays, you couldn't watch television. When I say we couldn't watch it, it was deemed a Sabbath. So there was things that was, when it was Sabbath, you basically couldn't do anything that was not in line with, church guidelines. Meaning if you were going to watch TV, it had to be biblical films from sunset to a particular set. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, when you go through that for many, many years, you kind of become disengaged from reality. You don't see anything else but church, and it's very dangerous. Had someone said to me at some point in my life that I would be in a cult, I would say, me, never, because obviously I've.
Did they say that to you before? Sorry to cut you. Did they say that to you before you joined the church, or was that during?
What's that?
You're saying if somebody said to you...
Yeah.
Okay, I thought somebody actually said it. Okay, sorry.
No, that's what I mean, yeah. And to be honest, it's only when I came out of the church and I decided to look into what a cult was, every single thing that I read ticked the box. It was literally the cult. You know what I mean? It was crazy. It was crazy.
Wow.
Even down to, I remember one time, I think it was called First Fruits, and even that was just, it was kind of twisted. I had to give my entire wage, which was, I think...
Are you serious?
Yeah, honest to God, on my life.
What do you mean your entire wage for a particular month?
So basically, because it was a new year, so it was called like a First Fruits. I had to give literally my whole salary, and for that...
Tithing. They label it tithing.
No, this was, what it is, Divine? This was different, this was separate from tithing. It was called,
Did you still have to tithe on top of this? So you did on top of tithing then, basically?
So I think what it was...
Tithing's where you give the percentage of your salary to the church,
10%, yeah. Yeah, 10% of your salary. But because I'd given everything, I didn't have to give, obviously, because I practically every year. Because remember, it was literally my entire salary. So with tithing, it's 10% of every 100. So I'd given, for that, it was the first time I experienced this. And obviously, everyone in the church had to do it. And I had to walk from Streatham to Tavistock Square, Bloomsbury.
My God!
Literally.
My God!
Why? Yeah. You had no money?
No, basically, no, I didn't have any money. And the thing is, to top it off, I was pissed. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Wow.
I was angry. There was me and there was another sister. I was angry, and the thing is, the pastor clocked on and said, "You know what? Take it back because you're not giving it with a good heart." So I took it back, and then obviously, yeah. You know what it is, Verbz? It's a lot of people are gonna obviously hear this. They're gonna think this guy is frigging. But once again, unless you are in a situation, because it's easy to judge. But when you're in a cult, you're brainwashed.
Yeah, you can't worry. You can't worry about what people think in terms of how you got into that. Because at the end of the day, that's a similar thing to me. Like somebody getting into a domestically abusive relationship, innit? It's a process over time, and when it's a slow process, you don't really see what's happening because you're sort of invested in whoever is doing it to you, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I gave it back within a day, and then yeah, obviously at the time they bought shopping and stuff like that, but it wasn't the same, man. It was yeah, man, yeah, it was. And then obviously, yeah, it was mad. The rent was messed up. It was crazy, man. I had to go to a local shopping strip. The guy was one Indian guy. It was quite nice, and I said to him, is it okay if I, borrow some electric and gas, and obviously I'll give it back in good faith, when I get paid, and I did. But yeah, man, there were periods of times when there was no gas. It was an experience. I'm not gonna lie.
So, when you say you was giving your wages, I just want to kind of understand. How often was you doing it? Was this every month, or was this like? No,
so this was something that they that the pastor mentioned. It was called first fruits. So the first fruits is something that you give to God. So it's like, basically, it's like some will say like a love offering, but you give everything. You know what I mean, for that year. Like in the Old Testament days, there was something called like crops and harvesting. The person would give the best of what they had. You know what I mean? But in this day and age, is used as monetary, like it's money that you give. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it was. I'm not gonna lie, man. It burnt me, man. Honest to God, only God knows, man. Yeah, it burnt me because you imagine you got a family and the rent was in arrears and there was no shopping and the travel to get to work, and there was a knock-on effect. You know what I mean? There was a knock-on effect, and then it's kind of like trust God. You know what I mean? God will, and it was. Oh man, I tell you, when I look back at that, man, it just It's only when you just obviously mentioned we're talking about abuse. It's just when that it came to me, man, and it was mad. There was also a lot of bullying, and in terms of spiritual bullying, in terms of if you didn't do something right, in terms of biblically, it was a lot playing off if there were certain things that was going on in the house, and it was madness, man. It's a part of my life. It was a part of it. It was a big chunk of my life, to be honest with you. 8 years is a big chunk of my life. But you know what? Through obviously the bad, there was obviously some good things. There was things that I managed to learn about the Bible, learn about a lot of things. So they were good and bad. I'm not going to say it was entirely, but in terms of thinking for myself, I lost the thinking for myself. It was like literally the pastor was just kind of, it was just playing people off against each other, saying, God said, and it wasn't nice, man. You know what I mean? Certain people would have certain information about people, and then it was deemed, certain people were saying certain things, and then obviously the way that pastor would relay it back would make it seem like it came from God, when in actual fact you were speaking to some of the church members, and you came across information, but then you tried to make it seem like it was. You know what I mean? It was a lot. Yeah, it was mad.
So it's false prophet. That's what you call it. So depends on you are. False prophet.
Yeah, honestly, man. Yeah.
People to their own damnation, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not the first person who told me that they experienced being in a cult.
Serious, yeah?
I'm not surprised. There's actually a program on Netflix right now that delves deep into that.
Oh, for real? Yeah, you have to let me know the name.
I don't know if I can mention it, but it's called the TikTok Dancers.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out. Okay. I'll check that out.
Very insightful because it actually really touches on the different forms of manipulation that comes with different forms of abuse. It's perplexing, literally.
Yeah.
It sounds like it, man. Especially with that example that you just gave, Genius, man. I'm kind of taken aback by that, man, big time. Like, it sounds very, very deep, man, and I'm like, boy, you know what I mean? It's very, very fortunate that you got out of that situation, man. It's good, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, the way I got out was, that's enough.
Yeah, we don't need to go into that part, but we're just glad you're out, man, because that sounds like a nightmare in itself. But at least you could take the good out of a bad situation as well, still.
Definitely.
That's a good part. So, Divine, so can I ask you, have you encountered any or observed any situations to do with abuse in the local community, maybe where you're from or where you've lived in the past before? Have you got any experiences that you can kind of what you've seen that you can kind of bring to the table?
Yeah.
And what's your take? What's your take on it? Of course,
it's a very complex subject in the sense of I don't think people fully understand, like you were saying, unless you've been through it, the psychological impact it has on you and how it conditions you a certain way. And you have to, like, for instance, I got abused as a kid. I already told my story on another platform, but I'll touch on it a bit. So I got abused when I was a kid, but the person was around from when I was 4. And my mum had 2 kids at the time when that person came into her life. And there's a form of manipulation that comes with it, and coaching and programming that, like you said, you don't even realize you've been programmed until certain things might happen, or light bulbs might go off, or people might tell you who are on the outside looking in. And what I found was, it's not always easy to talk about abuse because, funny enough, you get shunned, and you get shunned actually by the ones who you would expect to be your biggest support system, because people are not comfortable talking about it. Because even though we go through the abuse, everyone around us still carries the pain of it too. They carry the guilt, the shame, you know. I see my mum carry fear because she was obviously involved. She went through her own form of abuse. Do you know what I mean? And I think when you've been in certain environments, you are naturally always on high alert. So that's why you notice a lot of people are running around and they look like they're living life, but they're not living life. They're in survival mode. You know, that is why a lot of people didn't cope very well with COVID, but I won't go there. But when, like I said, when you're in those environments, it's very intense. So you're always looking on the lookout for the next thing. Now, as you get older, what I've learned to do was tap into that, but in a way where I'm not in survival mode. I'm not on the edge. I've calmed my nervous system, you know, because there's a lot of reprogramming and digging deep that you have to do. And you got to remember, you don't come from maybe what people would deem a normal foundation. So now you've got to find a way to create a foundation for yourself. You know, it has a ripple effect on so many things. Like, I moved around 9 times because I got abused and I was running, literally. Wow. I also tried to commit suicide. I also suffered from depression. Do you know what I mean? But most people will look at me and think, they just assume, shit, she hasn't been through anything. But it's my perspective on it. I changed my perspective on the abuse thing in a sense of, like, I learned to stop looking at myself as a victim and actually see myself as a survivor, because there's so many kids who get abused or in unsavory environments, men and women as well, that don't make it out. So the fact that I even made it out, I'm thankful. So I don't see myself as a victim. I see myself as a survivor, but there's a process to getting there. And I've learned to talk about it openly, but I know it's not something that everyone's comfortable with, basically. But I think we do need to touch on it. And also not just touch on the fact that women get abused, but also the fact that men get abused too.
Very, very true. And those words that you're saying, the way you've broken it down, even the way that you said, you know what, you learned not to look at yourself as a victim and look at yourself as a survivor. That's a powerful and beautiful thing, I must say.
My God!
You know what I mean? Like, very well done. It's, you know, and I think people, I'm guessing, will probably look at you and think that you haven't been through anything, because even when I'm looking at you now, you look like you're in a place of peace.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm in a space in my life, honestly, where I am learning to cultivate as much peace as possible. And that starts with having a cultivated circle, cultivate what you listen to, cultivate what you watch, and cultivate what you digest into your body, how you actually look after yourself. It's all a process, but you can get there. It just starts with little steps, because most people don't even know. The last 2.5, 3 years, I was mad depressed. I was depressed to the point where I didn't even like to leave my room, you know?
Wow.
But every day I tell myself in my head, because I've kind of learned a way to, like, dig deep in a sense of, like, look at the psychological aspects of it, research, home in on how I feel, dissect it, and then get some understanding. Like, but not everyone wants to dig deep, because then obviously you have to feel the pain. But that's all part of the process, because once you get through the pain, then you get to the good bit, which is knowing how to set boundaries, not take abuse from people, find your voice, create as much stability in your life as possible, and don't perpetuate your trauma. Don't bleed on everybody, because it's not everyone's fault.
Wow.
Powerful.
Wow. The way you break that down, you know, I can just imagine you doing a workshop on this kind of thing, you know, like honest to God, like.
It's true, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's making my head tingle, like, listening to you, like, right, so powerful and moving, do you know what I mean? And it's nice to hear you break down that experience in that way, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
because I was abused by, I don't like to say my brother's dad, because I feel like I'm tagging my brother with the person, yeah. But he was my mum's partner. He came in to play the role of a father. My mum already had 2 kids, like I said. I was 4, my brother was 2, and then later on down the line, she had a baby with this man. Now, I've learned that just because he perpetuated his trauma doesn't mean that I have to, because I think sometimes we do that, even in how we respond to the opposite sex. Because abuse can make you angry, right, and resentful, but then you bleed on everybody, and it's not everyone that hurt you. You can't tarnish everyone with the same brush. So I've tried not to do that, in a sense of like, oh, I'm scared of black men, or I don't like men, and you know, the negative things that you can push out there. I've tried not to do that.
That must have took you some time, though.
To be honest, no, I'll be real with you.
Okay.
Tear black men down, but if you do something stupid, I'm going to be like, what are you doing? And I'm going to say it, because at the end of the day, I want you to do better. As your sister, as a black woman, I want our black men to do better. But tearing down is not going to help that. We need to find a different solution. Do you know what I mean? Even if we have experienced abuse, even if, for example, as a man, you've had your heart broken by a woman, that doesn't mean every woman's like that. But I think we can get programmed into thinking certain things, and then we spill and bleed onto everybody else. And I've just always, I don't know, I've always wanted to be mindful of not doing that, because I was aware that one day I'm going to be a mom and a wife, and it's not going to be healthy if I don't deal with these issues as much as possible and try and root it out and heal. Because who wants to come home to someone who's just always sitting in misery? and is always depressed. You're going to have moments, but you also need to know how to heal yourself. You have to know how to go within without being scared. A lot of people don't want to sit quietly with themselves, because when you sit quietly, your mind starts ticking. And then obviously that brings out all different sorts of emotions that, like I said, we're not taught to really maneuver through, especially if you come from an abused environment. You're just literally programmed to put up, shut up, more than you even realize, But yeah, I just always thought it was healthy to, like I said, find your voice. Sometimes we have to have those uncomfortable conversations, because that's how we're going to heal. You can't always run away from it, especially at our big age, because what are we showing the next generation? How are we going to help them?
Very true. Very true. Genius, you sound like you want to say something in response.
No, the way she's broken it down, she broke it down beautifully. And, just listening to her speak, it's encouragement. And it's going to encourage a lot of other people as well. You know what I mean? Because just hearing someone else's experience and, just knowing that, they can relate to what she's saying, because they've experienced some level of abuse, and people get their healing, because obviously she, Divine is being very open and honest, and, she's not withholding. Sometimes I look at it like this: if you speak, part truth, you get part healing. Some people don't like to speak the raw, unadulterated truth. They compromise with a lot of stuff, the stuff that people need to hear, like the deep stuff, that will not only heal you, but heal someone else, because you've been open and honest enough to tell people, actually, I've gone through this and this is how I felt. It's put me in a dark place, it's made me bitter. I've hated everyone, I've blamed everyone. That's what I mean. People are not speaking, the fact they pretty it up and make it, make it look good, but they're not telling people, actually, I was a very better person. And, I really did suffer. And, like Divine mentioned, there's times you don't want to come out of the house. How many people are going through that on a daily basis, but they are not free. They don't feel comfortable to speak. And the thing is, you can't get your healing if you bottle things in. But then at the same time, is making sure that if you do speak on, obviously, your trauma or the abuse or whatever you're going through, it's with the right person, because not everything is for everyone's ears. Some people use what you've gone through and use it to destroy you. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's true.
Well said. And I think, you being on there, Divine, to be fair, if there's anyone that has gone through abuse and hasn't dealt with it properly yet, listening to you, I think, should give them hope, because you, to me, come across like somebody who, although you've unfortunately been through what you've been through, you haven't let it hold you back, and you've done what you needed to do to tackle the issue. So you remind me of somebody that, some people do things like, I'd imagine you've been through therapy, right?
Yeah.
Right, so some people will go through adversity or abuse, whatever, and they'll do therapy and they won't be open and honest and express everything. They'll withhold, so they don't heal. But you sound like somebody to me that's not afraid to go into therapy and open up.
No, not at all. Not even talk to people about it, because I don't need to carry no shame. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not ashamed. If anything, I'm going to make sure that they know I'm not ashamed. And I want every person who has been abused to find their voice. Literally, I'm not saying you have to do what I'm doing and go on a podcast and talk about it. But the first thing is accepting that it happened to you, but it wasn't your fault. The second thing is changing your perspective on how you look at yourself, because it comes with other things like you feel ashamed of your body. Some people might have bulimia, be anorexic. There's different ways it will affect people. It's not just one. It's not one way. Do you know what I mean? And I want people to know that whichever way you may go through the process of it, is okay. It's normal. It's okay for you to feel the way you feel. Because even when I first started speaking out, there were certain people who tried to make it seem as if I was emotionally unstable because I was talking about it. But I think sometimes when people can't deal with the guilt, because your loved ones carry the guilt, because they're thinking, well, how did they miss the sign? But I don't even want my loved ones to carry the guilt. I don't want anyone to carry the guilt apart from the person who did it. Because that's he who asked to carry. He planted that seed, so it should sow for him, not for anyone else. But because, like I said, we're not comfortable talking about it, it is very much swept under the carpet. Especially in the 80s, it was rampant in different ways.
I can imagine.
And I get it. People are not comfortable talking about it. But I think for me, I rebelled. You know, I kind of have a rebellious side to me where I was kind of muted my whole teenage years. So when I fully eat everything, yeah, you couldn't stop me from talking. I want to see you try to stop me from talking. I was like, no. And especially when I did the podcast and I talked about it, I felt free. It was freeing. It liberated me because I didn't even know I was in a cage, but I gave back the cage. I don't care who feels any way about it. Ask yourself why you feel a way about it if I talk about the fact that this actually happened to me. If you didn't want me to speak on what you did, you should not have done it.
Very true.
Very true.
Very true.
I use the guilt of it and the shame. So you got people in big ages that have been abused, and they're very close, in close proximity to you. Some of the men too, they don't speak about it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm getting to realize in families and amongst friends, even speaking to friends, there's so many people whose parents and aunties and whatever have been through abuse. Even like when there's a allegation of abuse, I've sat and I've watched the way people respond to it. I'm like, that response ain't the normal response of somebody that is highly concerned about this alleged abuse. They seem like it's normal. That's how they're responding.
I think people are more concerned with the shame of it, because who really wants people to know that they got someone in their family that fiddles with children? Because that's what it is. I'm sorry. I just want to be very frank, because...
Say it, man. Speak your truth, man.
I said to Dee, I've been working on my throat chakra, so I'm just going to be very honest. A lot of people don't want to deal with the shame of it because, like I said, they're thinking, how did you miss the signs? But it can be easy to miss the signs because you're thinking someone who's going to hurt you is a stranger. You're not thinking that person's going to be in close proximity to you, have a close relationship to you. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure when my mum met my brother's father, she didn't think this man was going to affect her life, affect her children's life the way that he did. You know?
Yeah.
And you don't see the signs. You don't, because no one really wants to talk about it. But I'm here to talk about it so people can sometimes spot the signs. Stop turning a blind eye to it. It's not going nowhere. At some point, you will have to deal with it. There will be ramifications. It's going to affect the whole family. Some people ain't going to like that you speak about it. You're going to lose loved ones. You're going to lose friends. But you know what? You're going to find yourself and you're going to be okay.
Wow.
Powerful, man.
That's very powerful, man. I like the way you said that. You know, that's nice. You know what I mean? Now, so have you been shunned by certain people and obviously without giving names, family members and friends and stuff like that?
Nah, definitely. I even had people tell people, oh, I think she just said that because she wanted attention and she made the story up and she was probably on drugs. And I was like, babe, if you're going to tell a lie, tell a convincing one. Because all you got to do is spend 5 minutes with me. Or not even with me, with my children, to know that that is not the case. So come better, because you missed that was the L. You lost with that one. I cuckolded like someone told me a joke, because I had already done a lot of healing. So I knew whilst I was healing that there was going to be a point down the line that my family would have to face the realization of what happened. There would be a point when I wouldn't be able to run from it, and neither would they, literally. Because there's things that will happen that will force you to have to deal with it, literally. Like, for me, I was dealing with it, but then my mum passed away. Like, we're going to touch on grief, and then that skyrocketed it differently. Because I had to go back, organize everything, face everyone,
How was that experience?
It was overwhelming. It was really, really overwhelming. But I did it with as much grace and calmness as I could have done it. Because for me, I feel like there's a time and a place for everything. Like, I'm a very emotional person in the sense of, like, I feel things deeply, but at the same time, I can be very rational because I've learned to, like, give myself therapy. Relearn myself how I want to be. So I knew, even though I was going back and I was going to basically have to face everything because I hadn't seen everyone for like probably 20 years or more, the day wasn't about me. It wasn't about me at all. It was about my mum and giving her time, her send off. And I would have my time. I would have my days and I would get to speak on what I want to speak on and no one would be able to stop me. And to be honest, when mum passed, like I said, that skyrocketed it because I was like, well, I was really trying to protect my mum and my brothers, but mum's not here no more. So yeah, everyone is going to have to get it. Like, I'm going to speak my truth. And plus, the person was very cocky, and I allowed them to come to my mum's funeral, but they wasn't humble with it because they sat at the front. They were extremely cocky. And I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God. So after that happened, I kept hearing God say to me, if he can walk so boldly in his light, you must walk boldly in your truth. And like I said, that just made me speak, literally,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You sound like you understand yourself very much.
I'm learning to. It's always a process. We never stop trying to find and understand ourselves. So I'm trying to be the best that I can be with what I've been given, set myself a different foundation and structure. Like I said, cultivate as much peace. Just work on yourself as much as possible. So, yeah, I know myself enough. I know that much. I'm confident, but
Yeah, it sounds like it.
because there's always work to do. And I think for me, there's beauty in knowing to still be humble and know that there's always something for you to learn and to work on. And there's always room for growth. So I'm just trying to grow every day and, hope that the Most High refines me as much as I can be refined. Because, we all have our rebellious side, like I said, or our dark side. Do you know what I mean? Where you think sometimes, I just want to retaliate a certain way. But then I think, no, don't need to. Think, just seeing who I am now is going to burn a hole in him, literally.
That's deep, man. That's deep. Even the fact that you sound like you put things into perspective very well. Because even the fact that you said that, all right, people that I know that I've worked in care and stuff, so I know a lot of young people that have got a history of abuse and stuff. Although they have relationships with their parents, common denominator what I see with abuse is a lot of people blame their parents if the abuse is by like a parent's ex-partner or something like that, yeah?
Yeah.
You didn't do that. You refrained from doing that.
No, you know what? I'm going to be completely authentic when I'm here.
Okay.
Right? I went through a stage of that. So I want people to know that is also a part of it. Do you know what I mean? But depending on the circumstances, you really got to break it down and see it from different angles, because our parents, they have their own story. Do you know what I mean? And I learned not to carry that anger, because I saw it as, if I don't heal it, then, like I said, it's going to trickle down into my children. It's going to affect my husband, my future husband, and the people around me. And not only that, I just felt like, nah, heal your lineage. So I was healing. I was in the process of healing that wound that I felt towards my mum, to be honest. But I had healed it enough, and then she reached out, and then 2 months later she passed away. So I never really got to have the full conversation with her to even say, do you know what, Mum? I don't even blame you. You were just as much a victim as we were, and I don't blame you. Literally.
Wow.
It was the man that did it. You know, that's why even when my mum passed away, I had the responsibility of doing her funeral. I made sure it was beautiful, because at the end of the day, our parents are going to make mistakes. And I find that it's uncomfortable for them sometimes when we address certain things, because we hear sometimes what we want to hear, right? So when we say to our parents, oh, you know, when I was a kid, I used to do this and used to do that, it upset me and it made me feel like A, B, C, and D. All your parent hears is, I wasn't a good parent. I did a shit job. I was bad. That's all they hear, because they go straight into their emotions. And you got to remember, a lot of our parents were not taught how to articulate themselves when it comes to their emotions. They weren't.
True.
Those conversations with you is also uncomfortable for them. Even just showing certain emotions, it wasn't deemed normal for them. Even saying I love you, hugging, they didn't necessarily even experience that. So how can they give you something they didn't experience? I think we got a lot more to work with, because we got social media. We've got different avenues we can go down to seek guidance, to seek help. I think we're a lot more vocal as well. So it's different for us, you know. And to be honest, I'm happy that I healed that part of me that did carry anger at one stage, because looking back on it now, I'm like, well, not what you want to be doing. It's distasteful. You also want to really think about how you're going to heal your lineage, because it is your lineage. Do you know what I mean? And I think it ain't good to hold anger. If you can have those conversations, try to make room for them, you know, because they will be uncomfortable at first, but you may just find some healing from it by speaking. We need to feel okay to have certain uncomfortable conversations. I didn't get that chance with my mom, and that taught me a lot at how life can change just like that, you know. And then you have to deal with the next level of the consequences of your decisions that you've then made beforehand. Because I had to then deal with the fact that me and my mom hadn't spoken for 15 years. We didn't have that connection like we had once had, do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden she was gone. And even though there was a period where I felt like I was okay, I didn't need her, I was good, I realized I very much did need her when she wasn't here. It was like, well, damn. I didn't think you were just going to go like that, you know? But like I said, if you can heal those relationships and the person is open to at least hearing you, they might not even know the right things to say in response to how you feel. And sometimes we have to let things marinate a bit, and that's okay, because it's a work in progress. I think especially within the urban community, because we don't really touch on certain things. We're not really meant to even talk about these things that are outside of the four walls. What happens in the house stays in the house.
That's true.
So it's a taboo, probably even to some people that were even touching on these subjects. But now, the more it stays hidden, the more it's going to go on. And one day it might trickle down the line. And what if it's your child? What if it's someone you really love? What if it happens to you? We can't keep quiet about certain things just because it makes us uncomfortable to talk about it. That's the easy route. Healing can only come with doing the actual hard work and digging deep. Sit with it. I'll sit with it. I know business. My people will tell you this girl will cry. She'll cry at a movie. She will, if I wake up today and I don't feel in a good mood, I'm going to express it. Because we suppress too many things. And it's okay to even just be calm and say to your people, you know what, I woke up today and I just feel in a funky mood. It's okay to say that. You might not even know why you feel like that, but I think the more we learn to articulate how we actually feel rather than suppressing and using the line of I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, the better it is, the better relationships we have, the more peace you will have in your life, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real still. I like that, man. Everything, the way you broke it down still. You probably said it before already, yeah? Divine, in terms of the age when you went through the abuse. Yeah? What ages was that again?
So from what I can remember, because the thing with abuse as well, you do block a lot of things out, and I've learned that more over time. So it was from the age of 13 to 17, what I can remember. And those are quite crucial years in your life because you're going through so much changes. You're supposed to kind of finding yourself as a teenager. And I think it happened so quick, you don't even see it coming. You don't even realize that you are now being abused by someone who's meant to care for you. Because I had a close relationship with my mum's partner. Because like I said, he was there for when I was 4 and my brother was 2. He used to be ill. I used to look after him. I was a very caring child. When I was a child, I wanted to be a nurse. So I wasn't scared of certain things that other people would be scared of. I was very nurturing. So it's a break of trust as well. That was probably the most prominent male role model I had in my life. And that was my experience. Do you know what I mean? It's technical. It's so technical when you go through certain things. Because like I said, it's usually not from someone you don't know. It does happen, obviously. We do hear of people being hurt and stuff. But a lot of abuse usually takes place by somebody that close to the family, if not in the family. And the 17, and it did shape me. Like my friends would say to me when they saw the podcast I did before, they said basically they knew, obviously, because I talk a certain amount with them, but they were like, when we saw your podcast, I knew you had been abused, but I didn't know it was to that level because I think I was so conditioned, I was so programmed. I used to just go to school and act as normal as possible. And they were like, it was like, you were so kind to everyone. You would just get on with it. I used to sing, but it's because everyone in my household growing up, we were programmed, including my mum. My mum.
But that's what I was going to say to cut you. That's what I was, when you say that you went to school and you act normal, obviously some kids do. Different things affect people in different ways, as you said before. And some young children and young people will show that sort of frustration in their behaviour But then some, because of the way that they've been conditioned or whatever, it could seem very normal, a normal part of life to them where they operate in almost a normal manner. Would you agree with that statement?
Definitely. I did, and I didn't even realize it. Do you know what I mean? Until things started getting more deeper, more violent. I fell pregnant. It was...
Wow.
Off that pregnancy, it was a twin pregnancy. So I started rebelling, literally.
Can I ask you on that point, if you don't mind? If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But with the pregnancy thing, what happened there after that? Like, in terms of you and how you felt and stuff like that, how did that make you feel when you found out that you was?
I was scared. Oh, I was really scared. Yeah, I was freaked out because I had a boyfriend, but I was still very much scared because I knew I was in deep shit. Literally, I was going to get more abuse, if anything. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I was extremely scared. And then I think it was quite painful when I lost them because I was just like, it was like a whirlwind of things that's happening. Do you know what I mean? But I think that happening forced me to pack and walk away. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just knew I wasn't going to stay because if I stayed, one of us was not going to make it out of the house alive.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to be me because, on the real, when you're in those kinds of environments, you're in survival mode. Like, you know, you're fighting for your life. So you go through the stages of maybe not being as rebellious and maybe just taking the abuse. But then it got to a point where I'm like, I'm being so authentic right now. I'll be real. It got to a point where I was thinking, how can I get rid of this man?
I can imagine, yeah.
Get rid of him. Like, how can I eliminate him? It got to that point. It even got to the point where I'd have to do little things to survive just so you can't get close to me or do certain things to me. It was your head. That's why I say a lot of us who come from certain environments don't even realize as adults we're still in that survival mode, you know. But there's positives you can take from it because if you've naturally been in certain environments from when you was a kid, it means you're probably highly tapped into your intuition, but you have to get out of survival mode in order to really harness that, like really make it work for you, you know. And the only way to do that is to actually dig deep, do the self-therapy as well as maybe seek help elsewhere, acknowledge it to yourself, you know, unpack it. And then you'll learn how to be still and you'll know how to still be intuitive, but not in survival mode. I'm an extremely intuitive person, extremely tapped into source, the Most High, but I try to be as peaceful with it as I can because you're not going to disturb my peace, you know. But a lot of people don't face it that way, you know. They just carry the shame, the guilt, the fear, and they even probably, a lot of people still even maneuver around the person who abused them or maltreated them because it's very normal. That's what they're used to. That's what they know, you know. Even some of the ways we even deal with each other in our culture. People think it's normal when you're saying stories like, oh yeah, I want me to take the wire off the curtain. My mum never did this, but I've heard people say this. Take the wire off the curtain and whip me like a slave. And I'm like, there's things we've normalized that, yeah, it's not normal. Like teenage years, my life, living at home, consisted of a machete being swung around my head.
Wow.
Literally. So, but I just knew that it weren't about spilling it on everyone else. Especially when I had my first child, because I was like, oh, this is different now. Do you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to guide her? How am I going to deal with my stuff and be strong enough to actually try and navigate her on the right path. And I could only do that by actually doing certain healing, because there was points where I was vulnerable with it and I hadn't fully learned to, one, accept it, and two, speak about it in a certain way where I'm comfortable. It doesn't bother me in the slightest because it should be spoken about. And the only people who are uncomfortable with it are the people who either do it themselves, know a family member or loved one is guilty of it and don't want to accept the truth because they're running from it.
Yep.
And we can't really make that our problem as survivors of abuse. Because I like saying we're survivors, we're here for a reason. We survived out of all the people who have been through abuse and did not make it. We survived. That's a big thing, you know?
Definitely.
To survive it and also have all your faculties about it and also be able to articulate the emotions and the different variations of things you went through going through that, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely. Even the way that you said, earlier that you knew you had to heal because you wanted to, like, have a family and, have a partner and so on in the future and stuff like that. It's so easy for people to go through what you've been through and to some extent give up on life. I'm not necessarily saying commit suicide, but just like, I've just got no plans, I'm just flowing, if you get what I'm saying. The fact that you knew you wanted to have a family and you actively went to access therapy and so on to work on yourself and heal yourself and get past that pain so that you was in more of a stable place to have your family is something that, boy, I don't know, man, I can't find words to big you up enough, man. Like, that's a very, respectable thing, man, seriously.
Yeah. Divine, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned obviously you was with your boyfriend at the time. During that period of time, did you make him aware, obviously, what was taking place at home? If so, eventually, yeah?
He did, yeah.
How did that?
He wasn't happy about it. He literally wanted to do street law.
Okay, yeah.
I can imagine,
Yeah. Did that affect the relationship?
It did, because the man who abused me, I think to a certain degree, he thought I was his property. So he would try where he was always in control. Do you know what I mean? So in some aspects it did, but to be honest, my partner at that time was very, very understanding. Like, God bless him wherever he is now, because he was one of the people that was actually like, when I did speak out about it to begin with, and everyone was like, why is she speaking about it now? Like, I was like, he was like, you know what? No one don't have a right to say that to you.
Yeah.
If it happened to them, how quickly would they be able to speak up about it?
They wouldn't.
I mean, if you say, why it's done now? It may be done for you, but it's never done for us because it's always where, you know.
Oh.
And sometimes you have to continuously heal. You do. You can even be in a good space in your life and you've gone through certain things in the past, but your brain has blocked out. So now you're in this good space and then, it just wants to pop out of the archive. That happens. Something triggers a memory. It could be a smell. It could be a song. Do you know what I mean? So it's healing when you've gone through certain things or grown in certain environments, And I don't really acknowledge that bit of it,
Yeah. Wow.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Verbz.
I'm taking over you lot, Sharon.
No,
man, this is, you know what? This is, I said to Genius in the beginning, you know what? Like, I think I'm going to let Divine just run and talk because I know with your experience, you know, I thought that it was just knowledge. I didn't know that you necessarily went through abuse and stuff, but with your knowledge, when you wanted to speak about a particular subject, I just thought I can tell that she's gonna run through this, so let her speak about her experiences. But the mere fact that you're speaking about your abuse, and I think it's only right to let you roll, because I think a lot of people that would have gone through the same thing, 100% gonna take away a lot from what you're saying, and they're also gonna admire your bravery and your ability to put things into perspective even through the pain, and, you know, continue with life and have this positive aura about you, which I've just felt from you from the beginning. So, do you know what I mean? I got no qualms with letting you talk, and I don't think anybody else listening to this podcast would be against you talking either.
It's true.
Thank you. You know what it is? It's because I want people to know that there is a space for you. Do you know what I mean? Because I think when you do go through certain things, you think you don't fit in anywhere. Your story's so weird, man. Like, who's even going to believe that's your life story? Because sometimes you sit there and you think, wow. I sit there sometimes and think, oh, was that really my life? Like, oh my God, you know? But like I said, unless we really process certain things, you can't heal from it. And I don't know if you will ever be fully healed, but you want to be healed enough to not let them snatch your life away from you completely. You had the past, but you don't have my present, and you certainly don't have my future. That's I didn't have a voice when I was a kid, but I'm an adult now. I have a voice now. So I can say, you know what, when you do A, B, and C, I'm not comfortable with it. People who really, truly love and respect you are not going to be offended by you setting healthy boundaries respectfully. They're not. It's only people that want to take advantage of you that are going to do that. And a lot of the time, when you've already been conditioned and been through abuse, if you look closely at some of your relationships, if you haven't done the healing or you're still in the process of it, there may be some people you have to let go because they are a reflection of the unhealed part of you. And you have to decide, do you want to still live in your old life and carry that abuse in that way by accepting certain things? Or do you want to step into a different narrative of, like I know my people in my circle, cultivated. They have my back. I can talk to them about anything. I can cry. I can express my emotions. We have healthy, open, transparent conversations because that safe space has been created. Do you know what I mean? But until you, like I said, heal certain things and know that what happened to you wasn't okay. So you don't have to accept certain family or friends just because, they don't want to acknowledge what you've gone through. There's so many people whose family ties have broken down because, like I said, people struggle with the truth of certain things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still the truth, So running from it, you can't run from it. You have to face it, literally. I was facing mine, but like I said, when my mum passed away, I had to face it even more, because it came with a lot of stuff. And if you don't talk about it, it will affect you in your everyday life. And then they've stolen that too, because you're suffering and they're probably still doing whatever it is that they're doing,
In terms of your mum passing away, my condolences. Just want to ask you one question in terms of the guy that you said that came to the funeral, ex-partner. Whose decision was it to invite him?
So that's my brother's dad, my youngest brother, because there's me and my other brother who's underneath me because I'm the eldest, and we got the same mum and dad, but then my younger brother has a different dad to us. So I factored that in too, because I think when you've got a situation like that going on, it's already a stressful time. And I think people get caught up in their emotions anyway. So for me, I had to rationalize everything, you know, and I knew my brother was rightfully going to want his dad to be there. So me being who I am, I set it a certain way that everyone knew. I get everyone's in their feelings and has their opinions on stuff, but this day is not about it. It's not about me. It's not about the fact that I want to say the person's name, but I don't know if I'm doing too much. But yeah, it's not about the fact that that person abused me. That day wasn't about that. It was about my mom, you know? But I just was cool because I feel like I've got certain moral compasses that I go by, even if no one else agrees with it. Like, when it comes to things like death, it's, like I said, it's a very technical thing. And for me, I don't think anyone has a right to say that someone isn't allowed to pay their last respects, regardless. I'm big enough to take myself out of the situation, just even to show him how much I have grown. I'm not who you ever thought I was going to be. I'm so much more. You know, so I am going to allow you to come to my mother's funeral. Yes, that's right. Because I was running everything. So I'm going to allow you to come to my mother's funeral respectfully, out of respect for my brother and my mum's memory. And because I understood it wasn't my time, I was going to get my time. But that day wasn't it, you know? Because you see that. You see people fighting at funerals and I was like, I knew. A part of me felt like he would have loved to see that happen, because then it would have tarnished it. It would have given everyone something to sue about. Oh, you didn't see the drama that did kick off at such and such funeral and and I was like, I'm going to show you that my mother raised the queen. That no matter how much you thought you destroyed our relationship, you didn't. We're always connected. You can never break our relationship. Never.
I like that. That's beautiful. I like that. That's man. You know what? And even the fact that, you know what? I would imagine a lot of people that have been through abuse with somebody and then their mum passes, and because of that connection, they're going to invite them to the funeral, or they got the option to. I think a lot of people would opt out. Do you know what I'm saying? But I think the mere fact that you did it for the right reasons, you definitely would have sent a message to him like, you ain't got no form of control over me. I could be in the same building as you and just dismiss you and let it be about my mum. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly, if I did, it just would have been crazy. And for me, that was not going to be no one's last memory of my mum.
Yeah.
Not at all. That's not what she deserved. Our parents are not perfect. They make mistakes, yes. But I chose to still honour my mum in a certain way. And I'm happy I did that, you know, because I see the way the Most High has blessed me for honouring her in the right way, for doing the right thing. And it's hard to serve people who haven't always done right by you, but it's good. Plant them good seeds. Don't worry about what anyone else does. Plant your seeds, because that's what's going to come back to reap for your harvest. And do you want God to be fruitful? That's it. Don't worry about what no one else is doing. I move with as much integrity as I can, and I factor in everybody. Because I know some people would say no because they will feel uncomfortable with it, and you have a right to make whatever decision you feel fits with you. No one else has to accept that. You know what I'm saying? Just because I did. I chose to maneuver a certain way, you know, for the peace of everybody. But because I knew it was important what I was doing, so my focus had to be different. It couldn't be on that. Because then now you've distracted me and I'm not actually going to be able to focus on something that's actually very important, and you've yet again stolen the limelight. But that's not...
Powerfully said, man. Powerfully said, Divine. You're a very powerful woman, man. You know what, Genius? I'm getting to realize, a couple people that we've had on our podcast, especially the females, they're showing up with this different type of strength, bro. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing to see, man. Do you know what I mean? But have you got anything that you want to ask Genius?
Yeah, but I want to ask you, have you experienced any sort of abuse?
Me? Yeah, the typical abuse that I would say that Divine has already mentioned, the beatings and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Growing up in the
physical beatings.
Yeah, the physical beatings and stuff like that. People would... It's a mad one because obviously at that time it was deemed normal, even in the eyes of, say, social services. They wouldn't fly down and remove you from your parents' care for that, innit? And obviously we would reflect back now and look at it. A lot of people will say, yeah, it's abuse. And it is, if we're realistic. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, even though it's abuse, it was of its time. But at the same time, it's done. We could have handled things a bit better than that, if you get what I'm saying. Because I feel like when you're a child of that era, or when I'm a child of that era, going through that, if I was being beaten for things that things that I had made mistakes for, just that alone, cool. But then, at that time, growing up with a single mum, she's got her own frustrations going on. I knew there was times where I got beatings where that was my mum taking out frustrations on me. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes a thing where I'd say it's questionable then. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that's my experience. Do you know what I mean? And then on top of that, now after that batch of beatings, all of those years and stuff, I got to an age where, remember when I said to you on the last episode, Genius, that the beatings didn't hurt no more. So I got to a stage where I became hardened to it, and my mum tried to beat me again, and I grabbed the belt. I looked at her like, what are you doing, if you get what I'm saying? And she's looking at me like, raw, my son's a man now, if you get what I'm saying. But that set me away now where I'm going out into society with anger issues. I'm hardened now to licks. So I was a dangerous youth, you know what I'm saying? Because of the beatings. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, what happened there?
It tripped out a little bit there still.
Sorry. God, what were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying because of the beatings that I got, and I became hardened to it, the emotional detachment as well from being beaten. I then obviously grew up to a point where I could challenge my mom when she's trying to beat me by grabbing the belt. But then I was going out into society with anger issues, and I was hardened, so I was getting into fights, knowing that if people hit me, I don't really feel pain. Does that make sense? So it's a bit of a dangerous combination. It set me a certain way where I was going out. It's almost like I was going out looking for that, if that makes sense, walking straight into that fire.
Yeah.
That's my abuse experience. So I've had to work on that and condition myself into from not going out and fighting anymore. The smallest things would make me fight. Being on top of the bus, the typical thing. The bus goes past the bus stop. Man, them are looking at me downstairs. I just get off the bus and just start punching man up. Do you get what I'm saying? It's madness. So I had to, it took a lot of effort, but I had to learn to recondition myself. So when people did give me that look or stare too long, now I could see them, just shake my head and just carry on moving, no more fighting. But it was a long process, man. And that's part of that's the aftermath of being beaten.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's like trauma for you, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the aftermath of being beaten, man. So it's crazy.
Because you reflected and you told yourself that you don't want to keep perpetuating that as well. Because you probably you wanted to release your frustration that you're in this situation. And the thing is, when you're with your parents, you feel there's nothing you can do. You're with your parents, so you just have to go with whatever it is that they're doing, right? So how do you cope with that now if it's not a good environment? you know?
Mm.
And I think a lot of that happens, especially with our black men, but it's just seen as they're black men are just like that. And it's like, no, that's such a surface level way of looking at it. Like,
True.
it's deeper than that, because actually, some of our black men have actually been through some horrible things that they can't talk about, and they can't talk about it because from a childhood, they get conditioned in their own different way of you're not allowed to cry, man up, but then as a man, we expect you to know how to express your emotions.
Exactly. Even that, what you just said there, you know, Divine, having girlfriends in teenage to early 20 years, I was emotionless. Girls used to say they don't know where they stand with me because I just didn't know how to express love. I knew how to express anger though, not on them, but it could be a simple thing like a man would look at my girlfriend them times there and I just start punching him up. You guys, it's mad. It's crazy. I was a loose cannon because of the conditioning, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who will understand exactly where you're coming from. I think from all of us, people will be able to take a bit of like, okay, yeah, I even do that. And then it might make people even reflect and think, you know what? Yeah, maybe I need to work on that, because we don't want to be going out there being angry and just moving reckless or just having this confrontation back and forth, even with gender roles and stuff as well, because it's toxic. That's the thing. We need to help the kids when we become substantial so that hopefully they can do a little better than how we did, just like we're trying to do it a little better than our parents. And that's not to take away from what they've done. We're just trying to do things slightly different.
Yeah. 100%.
In a healthy way, you know?
That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah. Definitely. So listen, we're going to come to a close. Before we come to a close though, Divine, I just want to ask you, you know, because of how powerful you deliver your messages and, you know, what you've put out there, I think is very valuable for the viewers and the listeners. If there was anybody out there that was being abused right now and didn't know what to do or where to go or how to, you know, try to manage that, what would you say to them?
Reach out to me at DivineLady23. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, DivineLady23, aka Let Your Voice Be Heard. And I'm not a professional, but I will give you an open ear and try to give as much guidance as I can. Because I've had people reach out to me and I've spoken to people like literally from when I told my story before. So I'm always open to listening, just listening. If you just want someone to listen, or if you're not comfortable just talking to me, you can request to speak to a counsellor. There's talking therapy via your GP surgery. Do you know what I mean? There's Childline if you're under a certain age. You know, there's a Childline that will actually listen to you and they won't make any like rash decisions until you're comfortable. So there's different outlets, but yeah, if there's anyone out there, they can hit me up at DivineLady23 on Instagram and Let Your Voice Be Heard on TikTok, DivineLady23.
Excellent. I'm gonna put that up on the screen when I edit this, so people know exactly where to get you, and I'll also get Genius to put it in the link as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Divine, man. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
and
Divine, thank you so much.
People will reach out to you, man, because you're an inspiration, man. I won't tell no lie. You know what I mean? You know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, because
very, very powerful, man. This was deep.
About different things, and it's okay to talk about things we experience. It's okay and normal to talk about our emotions and not all understand the complexities of them. But with time and patience, you'll get there. You know? Thank you for having me on your show. I felt like I was attacked. What's up? Thank you.
Nah, man, you're welcome,
Good,
man. It was good to let
man.
you take the floor, man. We appreciate everything you said, the whole of your input. Thank you. You know what I mean?
I like sharing too, because, you know, it's good. I want more of that. I want to see men and women having healthy conversations, especially black men and black women, because we cannot coexist without each other. So stupid narrative.
Another powerful message you just said, man. Trust me. You know what I mean? In this state that we're in now, where people are, like you said, men are fighting against women and black women are fighting against black men, it's mad. So it's refreshing to hear you say that type of message.
I don't just want women to feel like they're the only ones who get to speak on certain things or have a voice. It's important that our men know they have a voice too. And believe it or not, there's people who care. I care about what the black man goes through. I care about what your pain is. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not just one-sided when it comes to feelings and emotions and life experiences. So we can't base that just on gender roles and be like, oh, it's just women. No, men go through stuff too. So if we don't have these conversations, how are we going to grow? You know, and I want our black men to know that you have a voice, you are needed. As much as society shows you different, you are needed so much. There's so much pain that comes with not having certain role models, male role models in our lives, not just for us as women, but for the kids as well. You know?
Yeah.
Excellent said, Divine, again, man. I love this. It's been a brilliant episode, man, honestly. And again, thank you for, being a part of it, Divine, man. I think in the near future, because of how powerful you are, I think we definitely have to get you on again at some point, man, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, people, man. The episode speaks for itself, man. There's so much gems in there. You know what I mean? Information, directions that Divine's given you where, if you're going through these unfortunate situations with abuse and so on, you know what I mean? You know what direction to go to. You also know that you can reach out to Divine as well. The information will be in the link with this podcast. So, people, on that note, I want to say thank you for listening, and it's bye from me, Verbz.
Bye from myself, Geniusman.
Bye from that side, DivineLady23. Thank you, man.
And we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Triggered Thoughts podcast.
Yeah, Divine. See you later.
See you later.